Hello, everyone. As I understand it, Russ, who loves my hat, has a few words to say.
I didn't get it. That acts like I'm taking it out on him. We got that hat at the Stadium Series, and every one of them's different, but they're always the ones with the big pom-poms. And
It does have a pom-pom on it, yeah.
this one I'm not in love with. So I just said, oh, this is the first time I've seen somebody wear it, and now I realize it's not my favorite.
And there's a reason why it's the first time.
I don't think it has anything to do with your head or shape of your head. I didn't say that. So I just wanted to be clear about that. Anyhow,
one of the things the NHL has given us over the years, like in press boxes that have been good. Like I'm trying to think
the Chargers are good. They're always good.
Well, I was just gonna say, and Russ knows this because I've extolled the virtues of it often over the last year or so. The phone charger that the IIHF gave us at the World Junior in Buffalo
gold standard
is incredible. I mean, it's especially with newer phones. Like I have
what made it so amazing?
It's a dual port.
Yep.
And when it goes to 100, it literally will do your phone like 4 times.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah,
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And not just older phones. I'm talking about like I had, it's now old. It's a Galaxy 8, but at that point it was 6 months old. And this thing, it takes, I had another charger. It basically was a 1-to-1. It was like one charge for the entire thing. That charger is like 3 to 4 charges. And it's like, they gave it to us as if I would have known, I would have taken a couple more.
The Bluetooth speaker the NHL gave us a couple of years ago was actually really good.
Wasn't too bad. Yeah, I mean, we got charging cables from them before. Like
charging cables are good. Phone.
We have a cable that's like a 3-in-1. That's the old iPhone, the new iPhone, and then I still have that one.
That's a good one because it works on a lot of them.
Yeah. Remember they gave us chocolate Stanley Cups once.
I was not there for the chocolate Stanley Cup. I do still have this on my desk. That Stanley Cup, which is actually a decent Stanley Cup.
That's pretty cool. I don't remember that one.
This one, I want to say it was a draft, but I'm not sure.
I don't think I was at that.
They didn't give us anything last year. At
the glass. We all used it. This is another tremendous one.
Oh, that was it. That was in Pittsburgh.
That was great.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah, you guys, I don't do the draft as much anymore.
No. That was the Cup final. I went for media day.
You were there for media days. Yeah, I wasn't there for media day. That's right.
Yeah, because I mean,
that's mine, Mike. Technically, that's mine. You should send that to me right now.
Well, okay, then the coverage that I provided
for me.
I drove 3.5 hours for a friggin' cup.
Right, I'll give it to you. I mean, the other thing. My favorite, like when I first did the first 2 years, I think we were just coming out of the lockout, so everyone was really trying to be nice to us. They gave us I got a bag, like a computer bag from
the computer bag was really good,
really nice that Cap Neo still uses in the game.
Yeah.
I also got the nicest thing was, remember when they first did the new jerseys?
Yes, we got jerseys. I still
gave us a jersey, like a full-fledged
tremendous.
Yeah, that's upstairs, but that's like a full-fledged like Claude. I got an NHL All-Star jersey.
Yes.
That was amazing. That was incredible. Like no one expected that. That was really
was
above and beyond.
2003 for the Stanley Cup. When Polar Fleece was just a thing, they gave out Stanley Cup Polar Fleeces.
Yeah.
Mine lasted until last year.
Wow. Okay. There you go.
So.
Yeah. There you go. So they have a lot of. I mean, and they gave us a pullover at one point, like a golf type pullover. I have one of those. I definitely have some shirts too. Like there were some Stanley Cup like golf shirts that they would give us.
Yeah.
That when we first checked in, there'd be. I thought they were hotel. I don't know what they were, but. We have Stanley Cup. There's one thing that hotel people at the Stanley Cup hotels always have like these cool hockey NHL shirts on, so I try to steal them. I've tried to make deals with a couple people. I'm like, I collect them. Would you give me? Yeah. So and then in Montreal during the All-Star game, they gave us hats, which were definitely needed because.
Oh, I still have it with the flaps. It's awesome.
Yeah, that was such a great hat, and it was so freaking cold in Montreal during the All-Star game. Yep. So.
Yeah, that was nice. All right, so the 2 quickie pre-shows I have. First one, Equilike. An outfielder for the New York Mets, Brandon Nimmo, who is from Cheyenne, Wyoming. And I'm just going to say that because when you live out on the range in Cheyenne, you would think somebody would know how to cook or at least cook capably chicken, because he apparently made some chicken and he didn't cook it all the way through, and he got sick and he got food poisoning. He was up all night. So now the Mets said they're going to teach him how to cook.
Nice.
So that's
okay. Here's a clue, Brandon. If it's a frozen chicken breast, you can't throw it into the microwave for a minute and expect it to be done.
Yeah, I don't know what he was doing, but chicken is one of the easiest things to cook, in my estimation, and I do cook. I'm not like a grade A cook. I don't do sous vide like heck, but I'm a pretty good cook.
Well, I am, and it's easy.
All right. The second one is, there is now a beer company out there, and I think March 2nd is the date, where they're going to unveil a Lucky Charms IPA. And I think there can't be anything more gross than that. I mean, I said it's gonna be magically awful.
It's getting to the point where it's oversaturation when it comes to the specialty beer market. I mean, you go into like there's pink grapefruit beer, and there's I get like the fruity beers, and those are fine. But now we're getting like you just said, Lucky Charms. I mean, there's a chocolate coffee beer. I mean, it's getting ridiculous. I mean, I guess as long as people drink it and try it, they'll keep making it. But, geez.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't drink beer, but I don't like anything. I'm a big tea drinker, which is which is incredibly manly. And I love to drink lots of teas. And but I'm not like a big fan of like anything but like your plain old flat, English breakfast black tea. That's my thing, so.
I make it all up. I like the English breakfast tea. I mean, again, I'm iced tea. I know you do a hot tea. I'm an English breakfast. I do black. I do green, mostly green, and then I mix them. And so I have like a vanilla almond I mix in. I've got like blood orange that I mix in.
Green tea to me tastes like you're drinking a lawn. It's
actually good for you. Like
I don't care. I'd rather drink something that I like and die a couple days early.
That's fine. The other thing that X probably seen, like from Denton Abbey or whatever that stupid show.
Downton Abbey.
I know one that takes place in a suburb of Cleveland. Yeah, Denton Abbey.
I have those metal dipping things for tea. You put the
the baskets.
Yes, I have one of those too. And occasionally I'll mix in, like I have like a pina colada. I have a couple of loose ones too, but I'm really lazy, so I don't do that one as much.
Yeah. I've got a good one of those. What is it? It's something like ironic that it's shaped like something that's very funny. I can't remember.
Okay.
Can't even think of what it is. But I have guys I've bought, and not that this is like the home and garden show, but my wife through work, like sometimes they give out prizes for like something that you do or whatever, and she's been involved in some patents that they've gotten. So she got given to her this thing called a June oven, okay? And it's like a toaster oven, okay? And when it first went on sale like 3 years ago, I remember seeing it in a tech review. It was like $2,000.
Is it anything like a Dutch oven?
Stop.
No, it was like $2,000, okay? And
wow.
But now they've re-released it at $599, and that's still a ton for a toaster oven. So you're sitting there and saying that's ridiculous. Now we wouldn't have bought. I would never buy a toaster oven for that price, right? But it was given to us, and it is worth $599. And I'll tell you why. It's crazy. This thing identifies over 200 kinds of food you put into it and cooks them.
Wow.
Based on that. So like if you put a piece of pizza in there, it's like, is this a reheated piece of pizza? And you're like, yes. It has 6 different kinds of cooking inside of it. It has a camera inside of it where you can watch from your phone. You can watch your food being cooked wherever you are in the house.
Oh my God.
So you put it reheats pizza better than anything. I mean, reheating pizza is a big deal in everybody's house probably, and it reheats pizza better than anything I've ever seen because it. And I was watching it do it because I'm like, how does it do it so well? So like the first 6 minutes, it heats up the bottom. It asks you, by the way, if it's a thick crust or a thin crust pizza. Well, crazy. And then, so it does the bottom for like six minutes. Then it stops for 2 minutes, like inexplicably, while the heat, I guess, transfers into the pizza, and then it broils it for a minute. And it comes out like this incredible. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like for steaks, how do you want it? Medium. You put something in there, it's a steak. You put a bagel in there, it's a. It just comes up. That's a bagel. How do you like it? Medium, and it saves all. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'll save the $5.99 and eat cold pizza. But
now this is the June oven, guys. If you have any money or you have to do something really nice for your wife because you've done something really bad.
Well, I don't have a wife and I don't have any money. So
right. I'm telling you, like a couple of my friends who are hockey players, right, who I have tons of money and like are like looking to do something fun. That a lot of them often I've gotten calls from guys literally saying, "Man, heck, I want to buy something technological. What is out there? What can I buy?" Like that. Kind of I told a bunch of them this. They've gotten it for their parents, and one got for their parents, two got it for their wives, and they are just like, this thing is unbelievable. I'm telling you, I can't say enough about it. It's like it's just.
Well, I think the big, and then we'll start. I'm sorry we're going down the home shopping network here, but the biggest waste of money. And I make protein shakes when I go to the gym and stuff like that. But the biggest waste of money are these $200 blenders that have like basically the engine from a B-17 in World War II in it to pulverize everything. You get yourself a $20 blender. You use it until you burn it out.
Yeah,
and then
there's certain things that you should never buy. Like you should never spend a lot of money on. I actually felt that way about toaster ovens. Like I felt like, okay, a toaster oven is going to last for so long. It's got to have a couple things that you need. It's got to be like, I want it when you pull it out, the tray comes out with. There's certain things you want to have, right? But for $40, you can get a really good toaster oven. This is $599, but it is. I mean, we started buying food for it. Like today, I'm going to make spaghetti squash in it. It has like a spaghetti squash recipe in it. It's crazy. It's really cool. Anyway, check it out, guys. If you have anybody that likes to buy crazy, ridiculous things, and this everybody will love this. It is the coolest gadget I've ever bought. That as far as like usefulness goes, like there's a lot of cool, fun things. This is just we've used it probably 30 times in 4 days. Like that kind of thing. It's just crazy. People are using it all the time. Here we go.
Let's start the show.
It has an air fryer in it, Matthew. Matthew just asked in the chat room. It has an air fryer. It has 5 different things in it. It's got an air fryer in it. It's amazing. All right, here we go.
Cheapest thing, $35 track mouse. It's awesome. There you go.
Yeah, we should go through our favorite like
home shopping network, folks.
Yes, it's always good to keep a red phone with you. Like wherever you go, like have like a red phone that's not attached to anything, just on your desk. It makes you look really important.
For cheap O'Hara when you have to call cheap O'Hara.
All right.
Commissioner Gordon. Right?
Here we go. It doesn't cook drumsticks. No, it does not. All right, ready? Here we go. What's today's? What the hell's today's date? It's the 28th, right? It's the last day of February. Except for February clear, which is 28 days and 29 every day.
The last one.
Yeah, please.
Do you like when anyway? Right,
start the show.
No, but seriously, I think that.
Jesus.
I'm sorry, just kidding. All right, here we go. Russ, really hate my hat. You really hate my hat.
Thursday.
I don't like it.
If I go around like this and throw like the NHL sign ahead.
It's better. Still don't like it. It's the shape of it. It's like a cone shape. It's not like the correct shape.
You look like Baldar.
We do this like kind of thing.
Now you look like Waldo from Where's Waldo, except it's not red.
Or like a 1920s flapper girl.
I'm Michael.
Hello, Hockey World. It's Thursday, February 28th. It's only Thursday. It's Thursday, February 28th, 2019.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
I am Eklund, and you're watching the Hockey Buzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast going to every Monday through Friday at this time to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world.
Yo.
All right, here we go.
Wow.
I want to start. The great Kevin Allen's going to be joining us soon, so I'm going to kind of put off a little of the Tavares thing for a second because that is something I want to talk to him about because I wrote about it today. It's fascinating. It's fascinating the way people are reacting to John Tavares thing. But let's start with. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but our buddy Jillian Fisher, who's now more famous than we are, I think, is
I wouldn't say that, but that's okay. Good for her.
She's doing great. She reposted something that she saw from NHL and NBC, which was next week they're doing the outdoor game at night. They're showing the outdoor game again with like mics up, where the guys were mic'd up and stuff like that. Which showing it late at night, like 11 o'clock at night, because it's got a lot of F-bombs.
So that's what we heard the open mic about. I hope they edit that.
Yeah, if you have Claude Giroux, you're going to have your share of F-bombs out there. So I mean that in the most endearing way possible. So they show this moment when right after Giroux scores, and it's like a couple. There's just it looks like it's going to be incredible. Just the the few little things they showed, unless they showed them the best things in the thing, is one with Giroux and Crosby in the faceoff circle. And Giroux's like, you see where his leg is right there? And Lyons was like, yeah, should it be there? He's like, no. And like, well, then tell him to move it. And Sidney's like, all right, I'll move it. And doesn't do anything. And Claude's like, you didn't move it at all. What are you talking about? It goes back and forth. It's hilarious that they're having this conversation back and forth. Amazing. And then at the end of it, when Claude scores, he goes over to Wayne Simmons. And I don't care if your heart is stone or whatever. And he says to Wayne Simmons, man, whatever. He gives him a big hug. Come here, big guy. He says, man, whatever happens, remember that I always love you. And Simmons is like, I love you too, man. And I'm like, whoa. Anybody who's got any feelings in their heart, like, you know.
And all of a sudden,
he doesn't care.
And then
all
Mike,
of a sudden,
I'm
Whitney
not referring to you, Mike, but I'm
Whitney
saying
Houston
anybody
from
else.
The Bodyguard starts singing, and I, like, oh God. I mean,
I'm
come
not
on.
referring to you, Mike, but anybody else. All right.
I'm not moved.
I can't wait. I love those kind of things. Like I always said, the first 24/7 was just the best by far because they released it, you know, because the first 3 episodes of that are the best thing you can ever watch because those 3 episodes were filmed before any of them were released, and no one expected them to put the kind of stuff that they put onto it.
Right.
Second, people saw what it was going to be about, then they were careful, it got contrived. But the first 3 episodes were legitimately behind the scenes NHL stuff, and it was amazing. And so now they're all, but this was just like, you know, they got 4 players on each team, the coaches and all that stuff. So this is something pretty good. But yeah, let's what do you guys have besides John Tavares? Because I got a whole good thing on John Tavares I want to jump into, but I wanted to kind of wait on Kevin, but I don't want to wait for too long. So,
well, we don't have to wait for too long. I mean, we could talk a minute about Rangers Tampa because the Rangers were down in that game.
Yeah,
and they came back and they gave Tampa a good fight, and the fans were pretty happy. So it does show that, you know, David Quinn is going to kill their drafting, but by getting points that they probably shouldn't be getting.
Yeah.
But he's at least teaching these guys how to win. So that's the high wire act, the fine line that you have to sort of walk at this time of the year. So the Rangers will probably, you know, not be picking in the top 5, but they'll be improved going into next year. So I don't know which is more important. It's a hard one to call.
I'm right with you, and I'm happy to hear you say that because I know Mike doesn't feel that way. But no, I'm sorry, Mike. But I'm a real big. You know me. I'm always like if it was up to me, the way the first pick in the draft would be determined would be from the trade deadline on. The best record of the first team that doesn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, but that penalizes teams for selling.
No,
players.
yeah, it does. No, but it should because selling is ridiculous.
If you want to kill one of the most entertaining days of the year in terms of hockey, which is the trade deadline, then you do that because teams will not sell anybody.
No, you have other ways of fixing that. I mean, I don't think that people will. No, I don't think people are going to be willing.
I want more trades. I don't want less trades.
Just to try to win. I want more trades too, and I think that of course we want more trades here, but I don't know. I think that I hate rooting for my team to lose. I hate people. It's my biggest pet peeve. This is a sport, a game. You should never root for you to lose in any game. Never play a game of cards hoping to lose. I never play any game at all. Right?
No, but there is a benefit. It's like
there's a benefit. There's no question.
People who are rooting for their team to lose in the long run want their team to win. They know that they cannot be good unless they get the best players. And the only way to get the best players in some instances is to finish as low as possible, sometimes tank, and get the right players.
I mean, certainly
and it definitely worked for the Maple Leafs.
The Penguins benefited from that too. We can't.
Oh yeah, no, and I remember one time I was with, I can't say who it was, but a really famous hockey guy. And we were in the break room, and we were in the Penguins Stanley Cup Finals, and we were just there having dinner before the game, and and all the media around there. And he's like, "Yep, here we are. This is what the Penguins get for fielding an AHL team for half of a decade." And it was like, "Yep, that's exactly right." And it is if he said, "Don't anyone ever write that I said that," but that's the reality. They they put an AHL team, and that is the reality.
I think that's fair. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong about that. I mean, but again, that's what you have to do sometimes to turn things around.
And that wasn't nearly as bad as what they did to get Mario.
Right, Mario was worse. Yeah.
Which was completely terrible.
They threw games.
They literally threw games to get Mario. I mean, I mean, there was no way of knowing. We gotta remember the thing with Crosby was they won it out of luck because I mean, but the other guys they legitimately got because they sucked. But with Crosby, it was the first. It was everybody went into a hat. It was right after the lockout. Anybody could have won it. They won it, luckily. But with Malkin and Fleury and Stahl, these guys were all because they were terrible for a very long time. But speaking of the Penguins and terrible and Crosby, but getting to slowly, let's move to Crosby because 9 years ago today, Crosby scored the golden goal, which will forever be known as the golden goal.
Horrible.
Yeah. The goal that that won the cup and basically was a big phew for all of Canada. That was the funniest thing about covering that. It wasn't like we won. It was like, thank God we didn't lose.
Right.
that's what it felt like.
Now, us in the States, we were bummed.
Yeah, I mean, the U.S. team played very well. It was a great game. Came down to overtime. Crosby beat Ryan Miller by taking a shot, by doing that, like, kind of almost what, like, Voracek did the other night to tie the game. Just a quick shot when the goalie wasn't quite all together set.
Yeah.
Miller. And it was still to this day, I mean, of all the things I've covered, in person, there's two that stand out, and it's that game and the first Winter Classic. And they both really just stand out as
I mean, that game that the Olympic game is one of the great games in hockey history. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
And I remember I had actually gotten an interview from Ryan Kessler the day before that game, and I was shocked that he would actually call me and interview with me, excuse me, knowing that they were playing that game the next day. But that's how badly I think the U.S. team and the players wanted to sort of like get the word out that they're excited and they want to win this. And so like I was right there with them, And in the end, it's Sidney Crosby.
It was Sidney Crosby. I mean, it was in Vancouver. I fell in love with that city being there. I told you guys my story before, how I showed up with a hotel room that was double booked. So I stayed with a fan for 3 weeks who became a good friend of mine. Took my family in too when they came to visit. It was an incredible experience, but that game particularly was just an unbelievable moment.
I think the thing that people have to realize and remember is that the Crosby goal saved Roberto Luongo from being the goat of the goat of the.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Is that because he gave up that? I can't remember who was it. Rafalski, who scored the tying goal, or was it Zach?
No, I think it was
Parise?
It was Parise, yeah.
Parise. Yeah. So I mean,
it was just a shot that Luongo should have caught. He botched it with his hand. He didn't catch it. Gave up a rebound, and I was the whole time that thing was going on. The one thing I remember a couple things about that are really funny. That in retrospect, one thing I remember this, and I swear to God, and he will admit this if it's true. Bob McKenzie. This is the beginning of Twitter. Okay, this is 2010, beginning of Twitter. I'm on Twitter, and as I'm there, and during this exact time period, all the newspapers and television people were being told, "You got to get on Twitter. You got to get on Twitter." Right. Bob McKenzie comes up to me along with Pierre LeBrun. I swear to God, they'll admit this too. If this really happened, Kevin Allen will tell you that he was next to me. They came up to me and asked me to shout out to try to get people to follow them on Twitter. Because I was on Twitter really early,
and
I had like 35,000 followers or something like that, which was enormous for the time. I was like the second biggest hockey person in all of Twitter or something like that at that time.
Like I only have like 4,300, so really everybody who watches this show should be following me.
It should be Sportsology and at Mike in Buffalo. You guys, if you're not following him,
followers, he doesn't need any help.
Yeah, but isn't that crazy? Isn't that the funniest thing to think about? Like back then, like those guys came up to me in the press box and asked me, "Hey, would you mind putting out there to follow us on Twitter?" Swear to God.
Yeah, it's like at a certain point, Apple stock was a penny.
Yeah, no, but still, Mike, I found that a little bit cool.
I know. I'm not just.
You have your buckets of cold water today. You're just throwing on everybody, Mike. I found that kind of fun. And I also made a bet at that during those Stanley Cup Finals that Claude Giroux would be on the next Team Canada in the Olympics with Bob McKenzie, and I lost, but he should have been.
Let me touch on because Russ mentioned the Ranger game against Tampa, and like Ryan Hartman, who sort of set the tone for his inauguration as a Philadelphia Flyer, Brendan Lemieux did the same thing for the Rangers. This guy is going to be a major league weasel with the Rangers. He's going. I mean, the apple did not fall far
Jets
from the
fans
tree.
are so pissed that they traded him.
Yeah.
They were, and the minute it happened, Jets fans.
I called him the 21st century Sean Avery the other day.
Yeah, Jets fans were really upset, like legitimately upset.
Hey, Kevin, we're live.
Yep, I'm from fresh from the Johnny Manziel beat.
Oh, wow.
So what does it take to get banned from the CFL?
Well, I mean, we're all left to speculate because no one ever knew exactly what his agreement was. But
right.
I mean, we can guess. I mean, I hate to speculate because they don't really know. But
I think he didn't like bacon. I think that's why they kicked him out of the country.
yeah,
Canadian bacon.
But I talked to Tom Dundon of the AAF, and they're going to give him a tryout.
Of course they are.
Well, the San Antonio Commanders have his rights. Mm-hmm. So the one thing about it, the misconception about the AAF is they don't. Like there was a story about Kaepernick wanting $20 million. Dundon says they're never going to deviate from their $250,000 contract.
Yeah, they don't have $20 million to give.
Well, but everybody gets the same.
Right.
Right.
So.
Right.
Well, hell, I think Dundon spent $20 million just to buy half the league, but no, I think it was more than that. But I'm just 250. Yeah,
$250 million. Yet not willing to pay a GM $500,000. Interesting.
So, well, there's a reason that he has $1.4 billion.
That's exactly right. Yes.
Yeah. So.
No, you're right. You're totally right.
He still has his shoes from when he was 16.
And I'm trying to sell a harmonium on eBay. There's a reason for these things, absolutely, no question about it.
Well, Kev.
No, but I wanted to, Kevin, I was bringing up to those guys for a second that it was 9 years ago today that the golden goal was scored.
Wow.
You were there. I was there with you. I said of all the things I've ever covered, it was that and the first Winter Classic were probably my two favorite events, single moments. That game was just so amazing.
Yeah, believe it or not, it was another Olympic gold that is my all-time favorite game. Mm-hmm. And of all things, it was a shootout. It was the Forsberg goal. Mm. The tension that was going on when Forsberg on that crazy move that he scored. That's my favorite. Although the Crosby goal was huge because it was Canada and it was Crosby. And I thought it was the first time when I sensed that Crosby was always going to find the spotlight.
Yeah, I know.
Even in the All-Star game this year, like nobody cares about the competition. It's not why we go to All-Star game. But when he had a chance to be MVP, suddenly we all got interested. I know I did.
Right.
Could he win it? Because he didn't have that.
Yeah.
He didn't have an All-Star MVP, and of course now he does.
Now he has every. What do you buy the man who has everything? I tell the story too that you had to validate, and I hope you remember this because otherwise I will really look ridiculous. But in 2010, during that, I sat with you quite a bit in the press box, and in different times, and while we were watching the Olympics, and I don't know if you remember this or not. I think you do. That was the time that Twitter was just starting to get big. That was the time when I was out on Twitter way ahead of time. I had more followers than everybody, and that's when I had Pierre LeBrun and Bob McKenzie ask me to tell me to ask people to follow them on Twitter. So always remember about that.
Yeah, I do remember that actually. Yeah. What I remember about that, we were just starting to get into it. You kind of informed me about it. I remember you gave me a tutorial on it. But that was when we were doing live blogs and answering questions. And the number one question that we got during the 2000 Olympics is, where did Ryan Miller come from and what team does he play for?
Right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because we tend to we get caught up in our own little world.
Yeah.
We think that the NHL is so big, but the Olympics are so big that they draw in a lot of people who really don't have any idea what the NHL is about, and they really wanted to know. That happened. Even recently, when the games were in Russia.
Yeah.
I got a lot of questions about
TJ Oshie.
I got a lot of questions about Ovechkin. Can you hold on?
Yeah, sure. We can mute you.
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah. So there, that story was true. Ha.
Anyway. He didn't remember, but
yeah, he did. He was being nice to me. He probably didn't remember, but I know at that point, what he should remember is I actually set up his Twitter account for him during.
I'm sure he remembers that.
Yeah.
He's good.
But just to go back
the
to
cool thing about what he does with his USA Today. I'm sorry, Mike, but the cool thing with the USA Today for him is that he is like a really general newspaper. So there's a lot of people that are just casual sports fans that wouldn't follow hockey that are getting the USA Today. So that's why suddenly like Ryan Miller and TJ Oshie, who are these guys? And it's ironic. My two favorite games both ended the exact same way with Crosby scoring on Ryan Miller.
See, my favorite, obviously other than 1980, my favorite was 98 because I took particular joy in watching Canada lose. And I remember 98 was the year that the U.S. all they accomplished was wrecking hotel rooms.
Yep.
But Canada thought that they were going to, and don't get me wrong, I have a lot of respect for Canada internationally, and I root for them at times. I was not rooting for them at that tournament against a Cinderella Czech team, and when Dominik Hasek stoned them in the shootout, it was about 2:00 in the morning when they were playing in Nagano.
Yeah.
I almost woke up the next door neighbor with my positive screaming at the Czech victory. But mean, hey,
that was crazy. I mean, you'll get these weird things like the year Niittymaki had the Olympic run. Remember for the Finns, he had like a crazy Olympic run, and then
I remember Tommy Salo ducking. I remember.
Yeah, the Olympics are amazing with that kind of stuff. They really are. And
well, that's on a stamp too.
Yeah.
Tommy Salo ducking.
Yes.
You can unmute.
I know Forsberg. I know Forsberg's move is on a Swedish stamp, I believe. Yeah.
Well, now since we have Kevin back, I want to get into the main topic for the last 15, 20 minutes we have here. And that is that John Tavares returned to Long Island. And I wrote about it today, and I've really been piecing through it. And it's interesting on so many levels. It would be interesting normally on the level of okay, there's just a great player who played there all this time, and now he's coming back to play his first game. Sure. The fact that the game is in Nassau Coliseum is cool, right?
Yeah.
The fact that, but then there's this whole other level of Islanders fans, and they're the minority because most Islanders fans are not like this, but really hating on.
They're not in the minority.
They are. They're just loud.
I know Islander fans very well, but go ahead, keep going.
All right, I think they're just loud. I've always believed that irrational stuff like that is just loud, and the internet magnifies it by 10,000 times, right? So it makes it seem like that's everybody, but it's really not. But okay, but then so I wrote about this today. I'm there's really no reason to hate on John Tavares, and this whole thing, it's fascinating how it went down, how July 1st happened, because the Islanders fans for a long time they were looking for a win. They wanted either to get the right draft pick. There would be Islanders draft parties. I would get messages from, we're here, and Gar Snow keeps trading away all of our draft picks, or there would be the the trade deadlines where nothing would happen for Islanders fans. And then and then there was the arena, the Lighthouse Project, all that crap. Nothing happened. And then this was just the cherry on top of all the dismal stuff that happened in Islanders fans. Some Gar Snow and Capilano staying on forever and all this stuff. But really, what happened a couple minutes before Tavares leaves is Lou Lamoriello brings in Barry Trotz, which if the Tavares thing wasn't happening at the same time, should have been the biggest win the Islanders fans have had in years, and it's amazing to me that was, and now you would think at this point, this late in the game, Islanders fans would realize that was huge. And I remember talking about on the show, I remember talking about you, Kevin, it's that he didn't bring in Barry Trotz to keep Tavares there. He brought Barry Trotz in because he was the best coach and because he would be best when Tavares probably wasn't there. So,
yeah, here's a question: would you trade Tavares for Barry Trotz?
Right, that's a really good question. I mean, Tavares, this Islanders team is doing better than any of Tavares' Islanders teams did. That might not be fair to Tavares, but it's just the reality.
That's inherently unfair to Tavares.
But that's the reality of it.
It's the reality. But I mean, I want to get Kevin's perspective on this. But I've been chiding Islanders fans for their sort of tunnel vision when it comes to this situation. Look at what John Tavares was facing going into unrestricted free agency. He had a team with essentially an incompetent general manager who never built around Tavares for 9 years. They made the playoffs once, Russ? So they got to the second round once.
Yeah.
If he looked at the situation, Lou I think was hired a month
in the second round. He scored the overtime goal, but who cares about that?
Right. Lou Lamoriello was hired a month before he left. So this was like too little too late. Barry Trotz was brought in, I think, a couple weeks before or a week before. So like he survived, years and years of Jack Capuano, years and years of Garth Snow. And so none of the blame is being focused on ownership or on incompetent management. It's all on Tavares, who decided, okay, I have no idea whether this team is going to throw away the rest of my career like they've thrown the first 9 years away. And he looks at the roster. He's got, Brock Nelson, Anders Lee, and Jordan Eberle, all unrestricted free agents at the end of the following year. And if they spend $11 or $12 million on them, how does he know they're going to have enough money to pay for those guys? If I'm John Tavares, I'm sorry. They gave me no reason to stay other than he wanted to, but they just,
those players you're talking about were there before Lou. As much as I want to rip into the job done before him, Nelson.
I want to let Kevin go because I've got a long-winded explanation because obviously I'm from the area and I know a lot of fans.
Go ahead, Kevin.
What are your thoughts, Kevin, on all this hatred?
Well, I can understand why the fan base is upset with John Tavares. I mean, he was their guy. They had committed to him. And to be honest, I think one of the issues that John has is that he didn't seem like the type of guy that was going to leave, like he was going to be an Islander forever. And I was even sort of fooled by that. I kept thinking, well, he won't leave because
no one
that's just not the kind of guy he is. He's going to want to try to. But I think what we miscalculated on is the affection he had for, going back to Toronto. Like the photo of him in his, was it his pajamas?
There were sheets. They're calling him Pajama Boy, but he wasn't wearing.
Yeah, right. Well, his sheets, right.
Whatever it was, that was an indication, I think, of how he felt about it all. So, but, I think it's a good lesson what happened because, you think that everybody, that the top stars will, all through the course of when John Tavares wasn't able to do that because he wasn't surrounded with the right talent. But somehow when he was gone, they've kind of come all together because everybody has had to pull on the oars. So, maybe they needed his departure to, come to grips with the fact that everybody had to pull a little harder on the oars. So, I'm the Islanders fans. It's worked out fine. So,
the biggest thing with the Islanders fans that they seem to be angry at when I'm doing my research is that they feel like Tavares didn't give them a heads up and didn't allow them to trade him, at any point where they could have gotten.
That's not even true either.
What was that?
That's not even true. Like here's the few of the things. So first one is it was Garth Snow and ownership that let it get to that point because it didn't have to get to that point. He wanted to negotiate much earlier than that. And they just let it slip. He didn't say, don't trade me, but they decided they were going to keep him there because they figured, all right, we're going to negotiate with him and he's going to take it. But the idea is, if this were you and you have to try and stand in his shoes now, I knew he was leaving. I told you guys he was leaving. I even said it on Sirius Radio. And the only reason I felt he was leaving because everything felt last minute. They upgraded the practice facility last minute. They got a chef at the last minute. They got Lou at the last minute. Like Tavares gave his whole career to that franchise, and everything else they were doing to keep him was all very last minute. Now, the Islander fans got stoked by News 12, which really burns me because it was my hometown news when I lived on the island, and it was a guy named Bob Wolf, who I'm sure Kevin has run into over the years. He's since passed, who was their sports guy, and he was like the best. He was like around when Mickey Mantle was around. He was doing sportscasts into his 90s. He would never have let this go on at the station. But this video that they did was like a bad wrestling production video that just submarined him, and it was horrible. Right now, yesterday they did their regular sportscast, and even they had to acknowledge that the players did not like that video and the way they're portrayed Tavares because the players know better.
to the point that Barry Trotz canceled practice so the players wouldn't have to deal with the repercussions of this stupid video.
This is the nonsense that goes on. There are so many angry Islander fans, and it's misplaced anger. The anger comes from all those other things I mentioned, but because you can't blame Garth Snow because he's gone, and they're not going to blame ownership, they're going to blame Tavares. So he's the fall guy for all of this. Right. And I basically said on Twitter, and I stand by it, if you boo this guy during the video presentation, something is wrong with you. After that,
well, fans are allowed their opinions, obviously, but I think it's absurd. I think it's very short-sighted, and really, at the end of the day, I mean, the point is that Tavares didn't have a no trade clause.
No, so, it was his second contract. Yeah. Garth Snow at the deadline could have traded him. Didn't have, but basically, it's like they were playing nice at that point because they thought there was a chance that he was going to resign. And even I listened to Pierre LeBrun this morning talk about it. Tavares didn't know for a fact that he was going to Toronto until 24 hours before he signed the contract.
He was very indecisive about it. Kevin had talked about it. We talked about it. He had a hard time making this decision. Again, if you had this job and they did all these things for you, you were there, let's say, for 20 years, and they were like, you're our most valued employee, but you felt like they did everything sort of at the last minute and you didn't know what the future held, you would have left too.
I talked to John at the during the NHL media tour in September, and when we were done with our 11-minute interview, as he was walking out the door, I shook his hand. I said, "You fooled me," and he said, "I fooled myself."
Yeah.
He said, "Okay, there you go." So I think that, and you know what? It's I tried to tell Irish fans, it's no different than Stamkos. The year before, another Toronto kid who wanted to go, but the difference is, Stamkos and Tampa Bay Lightning were on track for something.
Yeah,
like there was an absolutely they were look where they are now. They were
working in concert with each other, where the Islanders and Tavares were not.
Right.
Yeah, I read it completely wrong because I was convinced that Stamkos was going to go to the Leafs, and I didn't think Tavares would go to Toronto, and I thought personality was part of it. But the thing is, it was for Stamkos to give up to leave Tampa when they're a perennial Stanley Cup contender, whereas you're looking at Tavares, who's 27 or 28 when he made the decision, and he's in the prime of his career. He's got, I'd say, 3 or 4 years left in the prime of his career, and could he trust the Islanders organization, even though Lou was there, and we know he's a great manager, and Barry Trotz would won a Stanley Cup? Could he trust the fact that they could get that team reorganized in a quick enough manner for him to be able to have a chance to win a Stanley Cup? He looked at the Leafs and saw Matthews, Marner, Babcock, and a team that was on the ascendancy. And, right now that them and the Islanders are on the same place in the standings. But honestly, there's still a crossroads coming with the Islanders with all those free agents we're talking about. And the Leafs, they're going to have some cap problems, but everybody thinks they're going to be a contender for the next 5 or 6 years.
Yeah. I mean, Kevin, you've seen a lot of these trades go down and stuff like this. I mean, I think the one thing that was interesting was that, we needed, I think the NHLPA was like, thank God somebody who actually uses the system that we put in place, because it hasn't been used. Like by top players, it hasn't been used.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Everything's been come down to it. So yeah, I don't know what to expect tonight. I don't know what to expect.
Look, if you want to boo him during the game, I'm fine with that. But if you boo him during the video presentation after everything he did for your franchise, and he was like, he really did love Long Island. Like, this guy would be seen at Long Island spots. He was one of those guys, similar to when the Islanders had their Stanley Cup team, and those guys all lived in the island, but it was a different era, right?
If it's booing, I think he can live with it. If it gets to the point where people are throwing Tavares jerseys on the ice and there's something untoward, they're ordering extra security for the game, and maybe it won't get to that. And I hope it won't, and I don't think it will, but it's possible. I mean, then I think it gets really ugly, and I just hope that doesn't happen. Well, let me just ask Kev, because the deadline was on Monday at 3 p.m. We had a number of trades. Who do you think was the big winner or winners? Because we talked about it the last couple days, And the balance of power, I think, shifted to the West because most of the big players went to the West. Stone, Hayes, Simmons. I mean, a lot of these teams stocked up.
But I don't know. I think in those cases, rather than make them better, it just made them whole again. Like the Predators were struggling.
Yeah.
Power play's been brutal, and they got the best net front presence guy. That's a good fix. But, did it make them better, or did it just get them sort of back to where they should have been? And, same thing with Winnipeg. They needed a number 2 center. They needed to improve that line. They got that guy. The Vegas Golden Knights have not been as strong as they were last year. So they got Mark Stone, who arguably is their best non-goalie now. So they've really added, a significant player. But I thought the two teams that really upgraded, made themselves better, were the Washington Capitals with 2 subtle moves. Bringing in Jensen. So, reminiscent of the move they made last year when they brought in Kempney. They re-signed him because they know that Jensen is a guy that can really help a team. He's a good one-on-one defender. He's a skater. He can skate with all the quick skaters in the league. He's never going to be a gifted offensive player, but, they don't really need him to do that. And then bring in even a guy like Hagelin. Like when Hagelin is on your 4th line with his speed, and he can occasionally score a goal for you, but when you're not counting on him to score goals, counting on him being a role player, that's a pretty vital. And then, the other team is the obvious one. Columbus is significantly better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you add Duchesne and Zingle and the players they did, and then you kept Panarin, and Bobrovsky will still be the goalie. I mean, it was just quite a haul for them. And I got a good laugh at the end of the day because Jarmo Kekalainen, a guy that I really respect, then came out with a straight face and said, well, we didn't push all in. This is not anything, did we? Just saw we have a bunch of depth, and now is the time we could do it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, trying to interpret a Finn, Yeah. He's really funny. He's really I remember being in the elevator with him a couple times. Just like he's intense. He's a really funny guy, though. He's a really funny guy, but he's so subtle.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know that. I don't know. Does it really make him like one of the favorites? I think not. But I do think they're capable now of making a run. So, and I'm really surprised that Lou, who historically, as everybody knows, has been one of the more aggressive general managers, didn't do a thing.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing we'll never know, he's saying it's because of team chemistry and everything, and we get it. It still doesn't mean he didn't try and make moves, and they just didn't happen. And now it's just defaulting to, well, we have this great team, so we're going to stick with it. Like, that's the part we'll never know.
Yeah.
Well, that's not NHL protocol. NHL protocol is you get a guy, and then you say, I wanted to send a message to my team that I believed in. I mean, that's the way it works. And to be honest, I like that part of the process. That resonates with me.
Well, like I said yesterday, Kev, I mean, for Lou now, he has really opened himself up for criticism in the New York market, because in the New York market, if you're perceived as, a playoff contender, which obviously the Islanders are, and you don't do anything like that, it's going to be written about a lot if they fail in the playoffs, especially if they don't get out of the first round.
And three of the 4 division leaders didn't make. I mean, Calgary made a depth defensive move, but they didn't make the big move. But apparently, they were trying to get Stone. They were trying to get Jason Zucker from Minnesota. So they had some irons in the fire and couldn't pull the trigger. I don't know about Tampa Bay. I mean, it would make complete sense for Tampa Bay to not touch with what they're doing right now, because they're going to win the President's Trophy by 20 points. But you can even if you're that good of a team, you can improve yourself. I mean, you telling me that Tampa Bay wouldn't have been improved by adding Wayne Simmons or somebody like that?
And they might have tried to.
I think they did try to get Simmons, but
yeah, I don't think they worked real hard at it. I mean, they said at the All-Star game, John Cooper said that he wouldn't be upset. He didn't think anybody in management would either. if they didn't do anything. Like they really felt like they had it going. I mean, they're number one in. I mean, you're absolutely right, Mike. I mean, you can always be better, but they're number one in goals. They have a tremendous goalkeeper, and they needed really another defenseman. That's what was their assessment. But there was no market for defensemen.
Yeah, they really didn't have one. I mean, and that it was interesting. I was on Nashville radio last night, doing a spot, and they brought up me
Paul McCann,
and they brought up to me the fact that this trade between the Flyers and Predators was the first trade since the offer sheet. I didn't even think of that. Going back to Shea Weber, and because the Flyers and Predators used to make quite a few deals with each other. They were a team that Poyle and Holmgren and got along pretty well. But we always talk about will offer sheets make teams not play together. I don't know that it didn't or did. I mean, but it has been a while, and that was notable because a new GM comes in, Fletcher comes in, so now they can trade with the Flyers again. Anything to that, Kevin? Do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. I didn't even give that any thought.
I
do know that if you ever, if you send out an offer sheet, there's usually a price to be paid.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll kind of see. I would say about that Simmons trade, and I don't know what kind of offers they were getting. I mean, but didn't you think they would do better for Simmons? I mean, I like Ryan Hartman. He's a serviceable player, but he is a serviceable player.
Yeah.
Where Simmons is a scorer and a great net front presence, and Hartman was actually born to play for the Flyers. I mean, his style is perfect for the tradition.
Yeah.
The Philadelphia Flyers. But I thought they were going to get a first-round pick. It just didn't seem like the haul was.
I think they did too.
Yeah, as great as. So I don't know whether it means they just there were fewer teams interested, or I don't know, or they overvalued Hartman. Maybe they targeted Hartman.
It came more down to the fact that people were like seeing Simmons as a declining player.
That played into it.
And
but as a declining player, but you only need him for 2 months.
Yeah.
2 months. Playoffs. So
I also think, and remember, according to the reports, that deal happened like 3 minutes before the deadline. 3 minutes before the deadline. That was after the Stone deal, and we were struck when we were doing the 5-hour webcast, Kevin, that Vegas. I mean, Brandstrom is a top prospect. He's going to be either a top pairing or a number 3 defenseman on their team for another in a year or so. He was great at the World Juniors. He's a really, really good prospect. But when you got the return that you got for Matt Duchene, you thought that you were going to get that similar return for Stone, and they didn't. And then I think all the forward moves after that sort of fell in place because the return for Stone wasn't as good as we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, the interesting thing about that and the analysis I've noted is, the media and the guys that have, cover the game who have not played seem to think that the Golden Knights gave up a lot in Brandstrom.
Well, they did. There's no question.
The guys who play the game see it differently. So that's all I will tell you is when you ask around the league, like they say Brandstrom is a really good player, but Stone is Stone.
Oh no! Yeah. Listen, nobody's going to doubt that Stone is better.
So that's the way I would see it. I've seen the media sort of criticize George McPhee for giving that up. I've talked to hockey guys who say I would have made that trade 37 days in a row, and
he's Stone worth that kind of contract though.
I would have too.
That contract to me was not a Mark Stone type contract.
All right, I mean I think that's fair too. What I had said though, Kev, about McPhee is when we saw that Brandstrom was in the deal, my remark was, well, Stone has to be getting signed then because he's not going to give up Brandstrom for a rental.
Right.
Yeah. I think that was fairly obvious,
And we were saying that like when it was first announced and it was Stone to Vegas, we're saying did they give up Cody Glass? Because
I didn't say that.
No. I mean we were saying they would be stupid if they did.
The rumor was out there though.
but it was out there. It was out there as a possibility, and I'm like, okay, unless they're getting him signed to a long-term deal, there's no way I'm giving up Cody Glass unless there's some guarantee there. They didn't give up Cody Glass, and they got him signed. And Brandstrom is an excellent, skilled young defenseman, but he is small, and that might be a factor in his success rate.
2 or 3 in this league. I mean, he's going to be a really good one. But the other thing, Kev, that I had said though is like I felt like, and I've seen enough of Cody Glass where he's pretty dominant now that he's probably the future face of the franchise, and I don't think they'll trade him for anybody.
Yeah, it seems like they really do like him. That's for sure. They like Branston too, though. So I don't know. I guess you never see.
They like Glass better.
I'm with you on that. I don't see them doing that. I think, he's kind of the cute, and that's the thing about the Golden Knights. Like what's sort of lost because they were so successful last year is that, and they got a lot of draft picks, but everybody else has 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 guys that they think are going to make the team. Vegas had 2, because they only had 1 year,
Right.
Where everybody, they had 2 prospects and now they've given 1 up. So
yeah, Nicholas Hagg's close though. To be fair,
I had a personally really interesting thing to me. I've got to get going, unfortunately, guys, in a second.
Okay.
But we can end the show now. But the interesting thing to me was I got a letter from this fan out in Vegas, and they said I wanted to post this. I might do this as an article, but they basically said, "I'm glad we got Pacioretty. I'm glad we got Stone, but it feels like we're just slowly turning into like the St. Louis Blues, where we had something special that was unique and that was really but we're slowly turning into a team that's going to have a bunch of good second line type players, but not be like something like magical and unique. And I'm not saying that that's realistic to keep going what they had last year, but I sort of did get it. I get what they're saying.
Yeah, no, I do too. I know. Yeah, because that's what they were. You can say Stone is, gives them kind of an elite guy. I think he's an elite guy, but saying that, I know exactly what he means.
Yeah, and it was interesting to see because it just goes to show.
Yeah, no Austin Matthews,
right?
No Hall, no Dylan Larkin. They don't have that guy. I mean, maybe Cody Glass is the guy, but
I think he's pretty close. He's the guy.
They had this magical uniqueness to them, or something like that. That where none of the players were like players that didn't work out someplace else. I mean, or they all were sort of, but not like anybody who was like Pacioretty's a good example of Pacioretty was just he just had disappointing years in Montreal after being such a good, prospect.
Yeah, I think it's the romanticism of having a Cinderella team that goes to the Stanley Cup final in their first year, and you want to hold on to that magic. But it's not more than likely, it wasn't reality. And when reality struck, they lost 4 straight after winning the first game to the Capitals. They have to sort of get with the program of the league and improve throughout their lineup. And I think that the deals that they've made, adding Pacioretty, signing Stastny, now trading for Stone, I mean, they put that line together, Kev. I look at that as a second line or a first line. That scares the hell out of me if I'm the opposition.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. When I heard that line, I thought, wow. Because it's got all the elements to it, boy.
It does have all the elements. But
when you think about it too, with Vegas, there's no way Gerard Gallant should have been out there. Like we knew how good of a coach he was. Players that are going there from other teams that look like they're having problems don't have problems, and Florida still has problems. So clearly, Gerard Gallant is a big reason why.
A very big reason. You have to get going, guys.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mike.
No. I was saying, okay.
You want me to stop off, or are you guys ready to end the show?
No, we're ready to go.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thanks. We'll be back again tomorrow. We'll talk more about all this stuff. We'll of course have some big games tonight. Like for those Flyers fans out there who think they still have a shot, which is not these two guys. But for the Flyers guys who think they still have a shot, tonight is a game that they have to win.
They haven't won in 4 games in Columbus, and now their team is better. Good luck.
They've only won 4 out of 16 times against the Metro Division. And the way you have to do with them, the Metro Division is most of their schedule in the way. So the Flyers, if they're going to win, it's up to themselves. I mean, they can do it because they have enough games against these teams they're chasing.
You can say that about every game between now and the the beginning of April.
Yeah, but tonight you're definitely looking at a team that that you have. And Columbus, Columbus is a good team, and there's going to be a lot of pressure on Columbus tonight. This game is a big game for. It's maybe even more pressure on them because of what they've done.
I don't think it's more pressure on them.
They're out of the playoffs right now. All right. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey, folks. We will talk to you tomorrow.